Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. We're looking ahead to the massive clash of Dublin and Armagh in the Box Athletic Grounds this weekend. And I'm delighted to be joined by former Dublin footballer Paul Flynn, and he's going to help me preview this game. And Paul, I know just talking off earlier, I know for both sets of supporters, maybe not so much players, they're more concerned about what's going to happen on the field. But for both sets of supporters, this is a really exciting game, just in terms of atmosphere and everything else that's going to be this weekend.
Yeah, no, fair play, Sean. Thanks very much for having me, and congrats on the success of the podcast so far. Yeah, it's no, it is like Dublin fans. Like they love to travel. Like it's all my mates are all talking about like going up, and even some of them are down in Tralee, and they're looking forward to Saturday night game. You know, it's only a 90-minute spin up the road for us from North County Dublin anyway, so it's easy. But it's going to be packed already. It's sold out already, so you're going to have savage atmosphere there on Saturday night, which is what you want. And I think adds to it a little bit too that you on one hand got Armagh who kind of need a win, and then you've got Dublin who also are not going to take. I can't see them not going for it. Like you see some teams maybe thinking about forward down the season, but the Dublin guys, there's young guys there still proving themselves. They just want minutes and reps under their belt, and they'll want to prove themselves again against the All-Ireland champions. So it's it's teed up nicely, Sean.
It's brilliant, like the fact that Dublin and Armagh are the last two All-Ireland champions, 2023 Dublin, Armagh, obviously last year. So even that itself is a big selling point heading into this game.
Big time, absolutely is. And I like the Armagh journey has just been phenomenal. They've been a team that I've admired for probably the McGeaney factor draws you in a little bit more. But I've just been watching them from afar and admiring just the athletes that have been built, the game intelligence that they've built up, and their tactical awareness as well as their physical presence on the pitch over the last number of years, and just the way they were able to get over the line last year. I've been tipping them, for anyone who listened to me early in the season, that they're a massive outside bet. I remember I was doing the quarterfinals with last year, and I tipped them to win the All-Ireland. They're the last semi-finalists, and I was nearly laughed out of the studio. And but for me, it wasn't really that much of a surprise, Sean. Like, just based on the profile of players they have, I always felt they'd struggle in Ulster because it's just so competitive. But if they could get themselves out of Ulster into the quarters, into the semis in good shape, that they're a hard match for anybody, and that proved to be the case last year. So, and like, people are making comments now. I think they're going all right. I think that a couple of results didn't go their way, obviously, but there's a few little things that I think they can tidy up on, and we get into them a little bit more. But they need this win, because they're on the 3 points, and if they got to 5, they'd be in a great place going into the last 2 games against Kerry and Derry. But they're not going badly. There's a lot of good stuff there. They're unearthing new players, or players that have been knocking around are getting more first team action. But overall, I think it tees itself up for a nice game. But they are welcoming Dublin in as the All-Ireland champions, which is a little bit of a different one.
I don't know, I was talking to you during the week, Paul, and we're sort of saying that the last time Dublin come up to Armagh was 2011, and you played in that game, and I was sort of questioning your memory of it, but it's obviously that long ago that it's hard to remember. And I know I was at the game myself, and I have the programme and all here, but I can't remember much about it. It's whatever 14 years ago now. But do you remember anything at all about that game?
It's 14 years ago and 3 kids later, so it's that's kind of damaged in memory. But no, I have vague memories, Sean, of it. Like, to be honest with you, it's 2011. It was a memorable year for us, obviously, and I recall, I think I came on off the bench and clipped a point in the game. Big win for us there. To go any of them games in 2011, especially in the league, we used them as a platform just for us to be able to build belief, because we hadn't won an All-Ireland, and we were on a different journey than maybe the Dublin team over the last number of years has been on, where they've kind of tasted success, or there've been guys in the dressing room that tasted success, and we hadn't. So every game we were out to prove ourselves, both individually and collectively. So those wins were all about just building character, and definitely going up there, Matt. And you would definitely have it would have been a character building win. I can't remember all the details of the game itself, but I do recall the atmosphere in the warm up. Just that it was fairly packed before the warm up had even started, and it's just something that strikes me about the Armagh fans. They just get there early. They get there. They support their team. And I think it'll be no different this year. And there's a similarity too, in the sense that these Dublin guys are still proving themselves, Sean. In that, like there's obviously a couple of guys who are still there, who've been a part of All-Ireland winning teams, but these new guys like Luke Bratnock, Theo Clancy, Conor Tyrrell, there's a clatter of them there now who are just starting their journey, and they want to taste success as well.
I think that's probably the big story coming out of Dublin this year, Paul, isn't it? That most of the narrative was about James McCarthy stepping away, Brian Fenton, Mick Fitzsimmons as well, looks like, and a few others, Jack McCaffrey, Paul Mannion. But I suppose after the first couple of rounds of the league, it's about the other players stepping up now, and they've stepped in their big shoes to fill. But so far, Dublin have filled them.
No, you're spot on, Sean. And like I would have probably thought myself that it was going to be a tricky year for Dublin once I seen Fenton going, and knowing that there was other guys going to follow, like Mick Fitz and Jack and Mano, all the guys you mentioned. And I just felt like it was nearly going to be unrecoverable. And look, what does that mean? Like, that's in the sense of, could they win the All-Ireland this year? And that's still obviously a long way off. Like, these guys are starting their journey. But there is a buzz around Dublin from like this. There's a freshness to it, Sean. Like, it's different than it was before. Lads are playing now that we don't know a whole pile about, that we're just learning about them. There's an excitement around, obviously, Luke Bratnock, because he's got great potential as a player. He's shown that bit of class as an inside forward. And he certainly, to me, looks like a guy who's got all the ability to have a great career against him, a career ahead of him. And even Theo Clancy playing fullback. It's not his first season either, but it's his first time just kind of getting, proper reps, game time under his belt, and he put a good shift in. I was in Croke Park last week, and I watched him against like Shane McGuigan, one of the best forwards in the game. And obviously Derry didn't have a good game, but Theo Clancy was very, very solid. And then there's lads like Conor Tyrrell got a goal last week, and he's really Tigers cornerback. Haven't seen much of him, and he played really well against Derry. And so that it's kind of breathing a new energy in the team, but also in the actual supporters, because they're like, it's certainly fresh, and we don't know where the journey could end. I don't even think the players know that yet, but they have they've shown great potential the last couple of weeks.
What have you made of Armagh's league so far then, Paul? Obviously, they're down in that sort of relegation battle, and there's 4 or 5 teams down there at the minute. You have Derry, Tyrone, Armagh, Mayo probably, or the 4 really battling it out. As you said, Armagh, they've picked up their points at home. They beat Tyrone at home, and they've drew with Mayo the last day. But what have you made of them overall so far?
To be honest with you, what I've seen, I see a lot of positives and those small little things that can be tweaked. And no doubt that the management team that are there know these things better than I do. But when I was looking at them recently, I was just thinking about Dublin in 2012, when we had won our first All-Ireland in 2011, and a little bit of a hangover that we had in 2012. And it wasn't obvious, Sean. Like, in the league, we didn't do badly. In the championship in Leinster, we didn't do badly. It's these tiny little 1%ers that can go awry that I'd be watching out for with Armagh when I watched them. So there's so much good stuff in relation to tactically how they're setting up. You're seeing really good energy in their play and their offense, but also, and that's been shown by how they really want to move the ball quickly. They're trying to move it through the foot as much as they can. And there's been glimpses of phenomenal play. And I think when the ground dries up a little bit, that'll really play to their strengths. And in defence, there has been that they're still well structured, and there's that attitude of energy in their tackle. It's 2 things that are kind of striking me, which could be just a little bit of a gap, is their discipline, Sean, was their strength last year. And 2 years ago, we weren't saying that. We were saying that Armagh's Achilles heel is their discipline. And a lot of times as a group, these are really hard to see because you're training to the same level. The metrics you're showing up on your GPS are the same. Maybe your scoring ratios are good. But these are the differences between when you're at your best and when you're just at 95%. And teams will pick you off if you're at 95%. So I think the one is discipline. Like you look at the Mayo game, they were doing really well in the Mayo game. 110-5 up at half time, even into the second half. Mayo, was still 114 to 11 points on 51 minutes when Grimley gets the black card. And they just lost the presence of Grimley in midfield then for the next phase of the game. Kind of allowed, Mayo got a bit of a purple patch, but that played a part in it, like that little bit of indiscipline. We seen it in the Donegal, and they showed phenomenal character to come back and get the draw in the end, right? So like that's the mix of good and bad. And then you seen it in Donegal game, like they were creeping back into that Donegal game. There was a massive win there, and then they got themselves to within 4 points of that game. And I literally was just saying to myself, this is not over yet. And then like Murph came on, and then there was that bit of like just moment of madness from like. One of your greatest players, Forker, who like you want him playing on the edge, you want him to be that kind of antagonizer. He's like our Philly McMahon, right? And like, we love those players, and fans can relate to them so much. And I was lucky to meet Aidan loads of times when I was in the GPA, and he's the top bloke, right? So these things just happen. I've made those mistakes too on the pitch, and he'll know it himself. But that's just the tiny little things that just them indisciplines, Sean, can be the difference. And I just think they're you can easily fix them if you have enough humility as a group just to identify them first and say, right, guys, we just need to tidy up on this, because our strength last year was our discipline, how well disciplined we were. And the last thing I say is the Rian O'Neill factor. Like you can't, like, this game now is set up for superstars. Like, okay, McCambridge last year was player of the year, and he was your best player. But the most impactful player he's had was Rian O'Neill. Like, he's the guy who you go to when you need to kick the boomer from 50 yards, or he's the guy you want to win the kick out, or he's the guy you want to hit the tackle. He's such an infectious player for Armagh. And now with the space, you see, look at Shane Walsh resurgence on the edge of the arc. Clifford playing unbelievable football. Only played one game, but space for a forward like this is going to be exploited. And Rian O'Neill's in that category. That category where there's just not many players like him in the game, top 5 players of the game. With these new rules, he just can't omit him from your squad and then not feel the impact. So overall, like, I think I'm rambling a lot, but I'm quietly impressed with Armagh, and them little things can be fixed. And Tomas McCormick's playing well. Ross McQuillan's getting more game time, doing really well. Darren McMullen doing really well. So I suspect Armagh are gonna. I think this is gonna be a really tough game for Dublin. I think Armagh could pick this one. Like, anytime Dublin and Armagh play, there's never much in it. I know they played a lot of friendlies over the last while, and there's never much more than the kick of a ball in it. And there's that they know a lot about one another, so I don't see there being much more than the kick of the ball in it. And maybe just the fact that Armagh need to win that bit more than Dublin do, that could just be the difference in the two teams on Saturday.
I think just on the Rian O'Neill factor, Paul, there's reports that he is back, and I know my phone was hopping sometimes with messages and you don't know what to believe, but it's supposed to be he's back, and that probably means we won't see him on Saturday, but hopefully it's good news for Armagh and for GA fans across the board that we're going to see him back, and we're going to see him hopefully swinging over a few 2-pointers this year.
Hopefully he plays this. I'd love if there was a bit of a surprise and he was playing on Saturday night. He's just one of those players that the GAA relate to. You can just see, because he's just so infectious as a player. He's so good. He's raw talent. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Dermot Connolly. Like, he just can do anything really he wants to, with the ball in his hand. So sooner he's back on the pitch, I think it's better for everybody in the game, and for himself too. Like, he's just, he's so good. You just want to see him playing.
And you sort of mentioned it there, Paul, maybe that Armagh's need to win is possibly greater, because obviously, as mentioned, they're in that relegation battle, on a win this weekend against the Dubs, because they have to go to Kerry, and then they'll at home to Derry on the last day, who will be fighting for their lives as well. So this is 3 really tough games for Armagh, but one at home in front of a massive crowd, great atmosphere and everything. This is arguably maybe their best chance, but they're coming up against a tough Dublin team.
Yeah, look, I think the Derry game is probably one they'll have target too, but I think this is not enough for them just to win one. Like, 5 points is a precarious place to be, because there's a lot of teams beating one another at the bottom. I think they need to probably get I think they'll want this result not to have gone into the last 2 games. All they need is one result. And on the flip of that, Dublin, like Bugler's unlikely to play. I'm assuming, I don't know, but I just seen the way he limped off. Everybody's seen it. It's very unlikely on 6 points that Dublin are going to risk him if there's any risk there at all. Con O'Callaghan looks like he's going to be back to slot in there. I don't know what this Kieran Kilkenny situation is, but so you just don't know what you're going to get from Dublin. Like any risks, they're not going to take them. For them guys. So it just could be an opportunity for Armagh. Like if Dublin go up there and get a performance and there's a kick of a ball in it and play really well in a loss, they can take a whole pile from it. Armagh can't take anything from a good performance. They need the 2 points.
I think just on Sean Bugler's probably been, one of Dublin's best players so far in the league. And as you say, everybody's sort of seen him limping off last week against Derry. So not sure what the situation is. It didn't look good for him. Lee Gannon, obviously, as well against Kerry, who, your heart goes out to him. He's only back from a hamstring injury and it looks like he's going to be out again. While on Armagh's side, still maybe 9 or 10 boys out injured. Ben Creeley added to the injury list. So we're maybe not going to see both teams at full strength here, Paul, which is another sort of another side to it.
Yeah, like I think Armagh's strength in depth is probably greater than Dublin's at the moment. I think that's what you get when you win in All Ireland. Is that I always find it that people are Armagh's subs are household names now. If you like, you've got 20, 21 players there, people who'll be able to slot in, and you wouldn't really think, is he a starter or is he not, because they're just getting so much game time over the last while. So I think Armagh probably have that bit more strength there. But look, either way at this stage, and like everybody, you're going to have both teams going full throttle. There's going to be nobody holding back. It doesn't matter who takes the field in that sense. You're going to get guys who are still like arguably proving themselves. Even the experienced guys in Dublin are showing this new energy because they're like it's nearly renaissance. They're trying to have a bit of a rebirth in their careers. Like, Scully's playing great football. Davy Byrne is back from traveling. He played really well last day, and he had a cruciate injury as well while he was away. So he was kind of half traveling and half recovering from a cruciate. And these guys are playing really, really well. And like UC Con, when he came on the other day, he's gonna be mad for road with the new rules. So regardless of what 15 take to the pitch, I think it's not going to take away from the game.
Do you think does Con O'Callaghan start? It's sort of been the last couple of weeks has been the return of all these big star forwards. Paul would see Murphy against Armagh, obviously. Clifford, was that last weekend? Darragh Canavan back in. Con O'Callaghan's back in now. He played against Derry. Do you see him starting this weekend, or do you see him maybe is the rest of the league just going to be building minutes into the legs again, or will they throw him in at the deep end?
I would be surprised if they didn't start him, particularly if Bugler's out.
Yeah.
Now it depends on the Kieran Kilkenny situation too, but I'd be surprised if one of those two. I don't know. He could be. I don't know what the injury status there. I don't think there's. But I'd be surprised if one of those two didn't start. If Bugler is out, but surely he is after the way he limped off. Who knows? But like either way, he'll be getting good game time. It's hard to pick these teams now. You see what managers are doing right up until the last minute. So second guessing what a manager's going to do in the league is a fool's game. But if I put it this way, if I was Con, I'd be wanting to play that game, and I'd say he'd be edging at the manager. Come on, we got my minutes now. I want to get used to these rules, and there's no better way to do that than getting minutes in the legs.
He's just one of them players. Like Clifford, isn't he? Nearly the Armagh fans would nearly want him to play just to get seeing him and see him up close.
I know, it was class last week seeing at the end of the game, you've got Kerry lads and Tyrone lads all running after Clifford afterwards. But that's like, there's a couple of guys in the game that are important for the game's growth. And I think over the last number of years, they kind of have been stifled to a certain degree in defensive structures whereby they couldn't just get out and play and express themselves and do things that only they can do. Like Darragh Canavan, like maybe a dummy solo or a dummy hop and just trying to jink past the guy and put it in top corner. Or you've got Clifford with that dummy bounce that he has. You can't get away with them that much when there's 3 guys around you. Or if you beat one guy, there's one guy after you. Like you're going to see Con O'Callaghan sidesteps, or just when he gets one-on-one, he just takes the guy on. But it's hard to do that when you know there's a sweeper going to come in and close you down. So I'm loving the one-on-one battles of really, really high-end players, because you see things that only the really, really good players can do, Sean. And that's been missing in the game. And I think that's what draws young people in a little bit more. You know, you look at any young lad who's playing out on the pitch, they want to be doing the things that are exciting. Like, not even if they're playing football, like they're doing the tricks that, like, you know, you can do, you see Ronaldo doing, or Messi or whatever. So I just feel like those guys have been, you know, held back a bit with the old structure, and the new structure is set up for them to be brilliant and be superstars again, and that's good for the game.
I suppose, what have you made of the new rules in its totality, Paul? I know there's possibility maybe after round 5 they're going to tweak some or change some, but I'm sure you'd love to go at a few of these 2-pointers.
I know, like, look, I'm still playing club, like, so I was playing a game last week and I was looking forward to a few 2-pointers. I didn't get one shot off, Sean, so that shows you where I'm at, but that's nothing got to do with the rules. But no, I think overall it's really positive. Like, it's been, like, obviously there's stuff that needs to be fixed, right? And, you know, there's no better, like, team in place to fix them than the guys that are involved in the FRC, like Jim Gavin. You know, his credentials speak for themselves. Fitzmaurice, probably one of the smartest people in football. Like, his analysis is it just comes second nature to him. He's just a football genius. You've got, like, obviously Peter Canavan's now involved, and a clatter of guys who are just, you know, they know football, and they're not just kind of going to look at this through the lens of data only. They will definitely use data to support any decision, but they also have the nuanced playing experience and managing experience to know what they need to be listened to and what's just side music that some people are throwing out there. So I just trust that they're better positioned than anyone to make the right call. I think from what I'm seeing myself so far, the keeper coming up is a tricky one for me. You know, even when I was playing the game, I was in the tree up, and he kept running by me. The goalkeeper kept running by me, and I couldn't track him. Like, you know, and not that I would have caught him, but, like, you still at least want to be able to try. It just didn't feel natural that there was an extra guy. And then you're seeing that in the games. I would love to see a comparison of it not occurring for a couple of these league games, to see if we're seeing more pressing up the pitch, because we're still seeing a lot of controlled football when teams get inside the opposition half, and it's slowing it down a bit. And I just wonder what would it be like if we didn't have that? Would you see more of a press? So I certainly think that's one that needs to be looked at. Obviously, they need to fix the piece around the black cards and red cards. Like, that's, yeah, you know, I think that's one that will resolve itself as well. I think the kickouts have been brilliant. You know, the fact that they're going long, and you're starting to see teams now picking off mid-range ones. Dublin did a lot of ones to the corner the last day, which are risky, but risk reward is good. Like, because mistakes can lead to goals, so you like to see that, but the discipline stuff is being good. No cards really, like, you know. And the one we haven't seen a whole pile of, which I just probably don't really agree with, which is the mark inside. You know, we haven't really seen enough of it, Sean. But, like, if you think about it, it's really hard for defenders now as it is. And to think that if you just catch a ball inside the 21, you're pretty much guaranteed a score, feels harsh on the full back line in a world now that's pretty much set up for the attacking teams. But, like, it's probably unoffensive, the whole thing, because of the fact it's not happened that much. But imagine an All-Ireland final and the ball's just kicked in, the lad catches it, and then he wins in All-Ireland by just catching the ball, essentially. That's just one that would be playing in my mind down the track a little bit more when the ball gets drier and these kick passes in Croke Park will be on. But overall, phenomenally positive about the whole thing.
And just on the keepers, Paul, before we wrap up, I know Evan Comerford come up and kicked a point last week. Ethan Rafferty's obviously been a huge revelation for Armagh. He's got 11 points maybe in the last 3 games. So it's hard to keep his tally with these 2-pointers and free kicks and everything else he's kicking. So that's going to be a big dynamic on Saturday night as well, the keeper situation.
Yeah, Armagh fans are going to hate me talking about the goalkeeper not being allowed to come up when the best goalkeeper at it is in Armagh. Ethan Rafferty's been so good, like, you know. But, like, he could definitely, you know, he could definitely probably contribute out the field anyway. You know what I mean? Like, he's just that good. He's a phenomenal footballer. And Evan was very good the last day against Derry. You know, he's not going to offer the same thing that even Ethan Rafferty can offer in relation to that weapon from a shooting point of view, but he's very fit and mobile, and if he gets himself into a dangerous situation like you seen last week, he can clip them over. Not with as much confidence, albeit, but he could do it. So I think that will have an effect on Saturday. Be interesting to see, because both teams are going to be doing it, so there's going to be plenty of risk reward there. One thing I'm kind of worried about with Evan coming for it is some of those short kickouts he gave off on the weekend against Derry, and I feel the Armagh press is going to be way too good for him to get them off, and if he tries them ones to the corner, they could lead to a goal. But he's been looking for Brian Howard on them a lot. Brian Howard has been having a season of seasons so far. I know it's only early doors, right? But he's just such a good player when he plays the way to his strengths, the way he's been playing the last couple of days. And Evan has been looking for him quite a bit. And if Armagh show him down with their press, that they could put him under a little bit of pressure. But that will be definitely an interest. And the kickouts and then the goalkeeper's impact overall will definitely have a bearing on the game on Saturday.
And Paul, just before I let you go, I finish every podcast just with a prediction. So how do you see this game playing out? Who's going to win it?
Obviously, as a Dublin fan, I would be thinking, I hope Dublin can go up and build on the character building season in the league they're having so far. But I just feel this one could be a step too far going into the All-Ireland champions at home with the need for a win. I can see it being a one-score win for Armagh.
Hopefully you're right, Paul. We would take a half a point if it was on the table.
A draw would be a good outcome for all.
A possible draw, we wouldn't turn that down either. No, great stuff, Paul. Thanks very much for coming on. Appreciate you giving us your time to talk about this game. Hopefully it lives up to what we've built it up to be. Certainly the atmosphere should, and hopefully the game lives up to that too. So great to hear from you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, fair play, Sean. Thanks for having me.